we live in a society now to where we hate everybody. It's a racist thing, you know. Well, you can hate the Mexicans, you can hate the blacks, you can hate the handicaps, you can hate the Eskimos, you can hate this, you can hate that. You know, it's just pick your hatred, you know, and that's wrong. You know, we should all just try to, get along and get together, you know, in our beliefs. You know, we're not ever going to believe the same thing, because we are a mixed society. We are a mixed diversity of people. You know, that's what makes the melting pot so great. You know, that's what makes America so great.
Just take a moment of silence to commemorate the 45th anniversary. I believe that everyone who was alive and of age on November 22nd, 1963 recalls that day. I've even read that people with amnesia, severe amnesia, are able to be brought back, unraveling their past by asking them about the moment of the Kennedy assassination. For later generations, it might be September 11, 2001. The trauma of the Kennedy assassination, I think, was no less severe to this nation than what happened that day. And I think that people also know that things changed in a very profound way, and that the efforts to restore democracy in the country and the hope that we had in those times, revived by the likes of Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy in the years that followed, and their assassinations also crushed that hope, that these killings were meant to destroy the dream, to destroy the hope, and to destroy democracy itself in the United States. The military-industrial intelligence complex, as Eisenhower's first draft warned about as he went out of office in 1960, has not shrunk from those days. Kennedy bucked it to his demise, and it has grown. We've had a bit of a regime change here in the electoral sequence, but to imagine that presidents who come and go, rather than the CIA and the Pentagon and the DIA and the national security state that sit and grow, is to live in an illusion. Presidents are just presidents, and they take any direct confrontation of that machinery, the machinery of death, and now with the international financial crunch and cash heist that's going on, the merger of corporations and the state is the emergence on a global level of fascism. And that's what we're facing in this period on an international level. And it relies on war lies, it relies on lies about political assassinations, on lies that control our lives. But there are still more of us, and we can think.
45 years after the fact. A man dressed in a suit, I'm going to tell you this story. A man dressed in a business suit stood at that picket fence and fired a rifle in the direction of President Kennedy's motorcade as it traveled down Elm Street. Knowing the identity of that man is less important than knowing that that man was not Lee Harvey Oswald. Even today, our government continues to force the myth that all of the shots fired that day came from inside the Texas School Book Depository. One man knew the truth at 12:30. That man was Ed Hoffmann. Some of you may not know about Ed Hoffmann or what he saw take place at fence on November 22nd. Hoffmann stood on the side of Stemmons Freeway with an unobstructed view into the parking lot to the west of us. Ed watched the man at the fence point a rifle towards Elm Street. He saw a puff of smoke drift out from the fence near where this man was standing. 9 witnesses who stood in Dealey Plaza submitted affidavits or testified about seeing smoke. coming from the same area immediately after hearing shots. How did Ed Hoffmann know about smoke near the picket fence unless he was here himself? After firing his rifle, the man in the suit ran down the fence line towards the railroad tracks. Before reaching the tracks, the man suddenly stopped, tossed his murder weapon to another man who stood near one of the railroad switch boxes. The reason this man suddenly stopped running was because a large steam pipe blocked his path. From his position on Stemmons Freeway, Ed Hoffmann did not know what had caused the man to stop running so abruptly, only that something made him stop. Ed Hoffmann had never been to Dealey Plaza prior to that day. He did not know that there was a steam pipe that was separating the railroad tracks from the west end of the parking lot. From his elevated position on Stemmons Freeway, Ed watched as the president's motorcade traveled up the entrance ramp onto Stemmons. Ed saw a massive hole in the back right portion of President Kennedy's head. Ed Hoffmann was the first civilian to see that. The doctors at Parkland 5 minutes later verified that the back of the head was blown out. How did Ed Hoffmann know where the president was wounded unless he saw it for himself? After tossing the murder weapon to his accomplice, the man in the suit the man who fired the rifle turned and walked towards the fence, where he was confronted at gunpoint by a uniformed Dallas police officer who had run into the area in response to hearing shots. Ed watched as this uniformed officer point his pistol directly at the man in the suit. Ed saw the man in the suit remove something from his suit coat, and the officer lowered his weapon and allowed the man to walk away. That officer, Joe Marshall Smith, testified to the Warren Commission that the man he encountered produced credentials from his coat that showed him to be a United States Secret Service agent. The significance of that, no Secret Service agent was on the ground in Dealey Plaza. They were on their way to Parkland Hospital. How did Ed Hoffmann know about this encounter unless he saw it for himself? After the president's vehicle passed Ed Hoffmann's location, Ed tried to get the attention of a uniformed police officer who was stationed on top of the railroad bridge, less than 100 yards north of where Ed had parked his car. As Ed ran towards the officer, the Secret Service follow-up car headed up the entrance ramp onto Stemmons Freeway. A man inside that follow-up car pointed a rifle directly at Ed as it sped up the ramp. 6 witnesses, including the 4 agents inside the car, verified that Agent George Hickey was handling an AR-15 assault rifle while the cars were still in Dealey Plaza. How did Ed Hoffmann know there was an AR-15 in the car unless he saw it for himself? Everything Ed Hoffmann saw between 12 noon and 12:35 has been corroborated by affidavits and sworn testimony. There are still some critics of Ed Hoffmann as to whether he saw what he saw from Stemmons Freeway. If he was not where he said he was, how did he know that there was a uniformed police officer stationed on the railroad bridge over the top of Stemmons Freeway? How did he know there were people behind the picket fence acting suspiciously prior to, during, and after the assassination? A uniformed police officer did encounter a man dressed in a suit in the parking lot moments after the shooting. Secret Service agent was handling an AR-15 assault rifle in the follow-up car. The president had a massive wound in the back of his head. How did Ed Hoffmann know any of this? The irony of this entire story is that the one man who could tell what happened can't speak and cannot hear. We are here today to speak for Ed Hoffmann. We need to move past the myth